Hello, it's Zimbo with Zimbo Drinks, and we're back for another session, beer review number 6. We're going to be talking about a beer, Heimdall, and it's from Walhalla Brewery in Noord Amsterdam, which is right across the river from just kind of the old Amsterdam that tourists know and we know as the classic old city. Across the river, it's just like a new part of town or newer part of town. It's going to have more of those larger establishments, bigger breweries, restaurants, shopping, just kind of something like more modern that we would be used to in like a newer part of, or a gentrified area of town. It's just real quick, free ferry right across the river. Takes 15-20 minutes maybe. And it's about 20 minutes from my house, which is cool, by train. They do have a tasting room, so I'm going to be going there soon. But first glance, their website, like, Valhalla, Viking warriors go to heaven here after they die in battle. You're going to think like everything is Viking centric and themed. We are close to Scandinavia here in the Netherlands. But not necessarily the case. They got like beers named after Apollo and Zeus and all kinds of stuff. Looks like they do a lot of different IPAs, which is common in the craft world from NEPAs and West Coasts. But they also do a lot of German style, which I'm excited to see about, such as Weizen beers and this right here, this Imperial Rye Bock called Heimdall. And so, kind of like aptly named, Heimdall was like, as Walhalla Brewery says, that he was like the bouncer for Valhalla or Walhalla. So strong, big, bold, tough beer. He's here to kick ass. And then, but yeah, so classic German. So what we have here is we have an Imperial Rye Bock. So first of all, Imperial typically means strong. It's more of like an English thing, and beer that was made for export back in the day to the Russian Empire was made at higher levels of alcohol so that it could survive the journey before modern technology, and was referred to as Imperial. Now we have Bock right here, and Bock is a German thing, and it's not necessarily a type of beer. It's more like a style in which beer is done. You got Dunkelbocks, which are like dark bocks. You got Maibocks or Helles Bocks, which are light bocks. We got Weizenbocks. And this right here is a Rye Bock. And usually like Rye Bock, there's a whole story about beer brewers from Einbecker back in the day, 500 years ago, and the Bavarian kings knew that beer was superior. They imported these guys into Munich and Bavaria, and they said, hey, like, we got the Beck style beer. And just over time that dialect kind of got bastardized into Bock. So it's really more of a style of beer. So what we have is a Rye Bock. And Bocks are typically, like, the thing about them is they're done very bold, high alcohol, usually like 6 to 7.5%. This guy is 8.5, hence we have an Imperial Rye Bock. And rye, again, of course, it's another grain. You're not going to brew 100% of a grain, but it's going to be a grain in here. And so kind of like what I'm thinking, they do list this beer at 60 EBC, which is going to be a very dark beer, almost along the lines of an English stout. And they also list that it is brewed with chocolate malt, which makes me think that this guy is going to be a very dark beer. And so what I'm thinking is, a Dunkel, it's going to be a dark block. Usually at Dunkel, you're going to have really dark, caramely, toasted, deep, bready notes, almost like the brown loaf at the Outback Steakhouse. So I'm thinking that, plus the rye. So usually like rye in your beer, because I've seen rye lagers out there. Actually, rye beers in Germany are referred to as Rogen. So this is kind of like a Rogenbock if we were in Germany. But usually rye is known for having like an earthy, peppery, and almost adding like a really dry character to beers. Plus with the chocolate malt, So we got rye, chocolate malt, box strength. So I'm thinking high ABV, high octane. It's going to be warm on the palate. I'm also thinking a very dark beer, and it's going to be real bready, malty, almost like I said, that out if we put like sprinkled some very bitter dark chocolate, almost like sprinkling on our Outback brown loaf, and then maybe a little pepper on it. That's what we're going to get from this. Usually hops in these beers are high, so the IBU or can be misleading. It's not going to taste bitter at all. Like these types of beers, these German beers are done in a way where the hops are added just enough to balance out the beer, just to balance that sweety maltiness that we're getting from the high malt beer. But one thing I will say is, I'm not necessarily expecting this to be like a deep, dark, rich stout either. A lot of times your English and American stouts are brewed with a lot of oats and real thick body. I don't think we're going to be there because, I think one thing to talk about is that, typically bocks are lagers, and German beers tend to a lot of time be lagers. And I know in America we have this, connotation that lagers are light, easy drinking, light body beers, but that's not the case. Really, lager just refers to, we have two types of yeasts. There's a little bit more, but mainly two types of brewing yeasts. One's an ale yeast, and it ferments on the top of the beer, and usually at higher temperatures. And then you have lager yeast, which comes later in the history of beer and is typically superior. And it is a bottom fermenting yeast. And so usually you get like a really clean beer. But it does not have to be light, at all. Like a German Dunkel is a dark beer. They are lagers, though. So you get that lager, light, American Budweiser type beer out of your head, because lager's a huge world. But anyway, very nice color. Like I was saying, going to be a dark beer. I'm expecting that, but I'm not expecting a super thick, meaty, chunky stout, American and British style that's brewed with an ale yeast, and you're going to have some cloudiness, and they got some oats and just various other things to give that beer a lot of body. Again, we're still talking kind of like medium to light body beer with nice clarity. Lagers are technically a superior yeast, and you're going to get a clearer beer. You're going to get a brighter color. So we do have dark, almost ruby. So kind of very nice color. I'm liking it. I love dark beers that drink light. Yeah, nice whiff. It's very nice nose. It's got a real full breadiness to it, and like a dark toasted caramel. Like I said, think brown bread from Outback Steakhouse. You are getting like a little bit of those dark dried fruit characters, like slight raisiny, which you can get a little bit from the rye too. But sometimes we get those flavors just from the way it's a little sweet, full body mixed with the breadiness. And yeah, I mean, it's very classic German Dunkel smell. I am getting a little bit of that alcohol heat on the nose, so I know this is going to be as advertised when it comes to that 8.5. Again, not really getting a lot of hoppy nose to it. It should just be classic German hops, just enough to balance the beer out and to, balance out that body and maltiness. But let's give her a taste. First off, it's got that clean feature, that clean aspect that I like. I can almost taste the water. It's just a characteristic of a well-brewed beer. No flaws. Tastes great. Again, thick. Exactly what I was thinking. Dark, toasted bread. Some hints of chocolate. I wouldn't say like dark chocolate or coffee. It's more like kind of a slight milky chocolateness. Very nice. And I am getting that kind of dry, peppery finish that I would expect from a high rye content in my beer. But yeah, I mean, beautiful beer. I love these strong beers. 8.5. Like this is if you're on a fast and making an exception and your stomach is growling. I mean, this is like a liquid loaf of bread. A liquid loaf of brown bread from Outback Steakhouse. That's great. Let's see if it's gulpable. It is gulpable. I could gulp this. I don't think it's advisably gulpable. At 8.5% alcohol, this is going to change your mindset real quick. But despite the high ABV, it does have some warming. It's a very smooth, clean beer. I love it. So, cheers and happy drinking.